What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to Optimize You. On this podcast, we got a fun one coming at you. We're going to talk about all of our favorite exercises for each muscle group and how you can implement those into your plan to be successful and continue moving in that right direction with your body. Hopefully you enjoy this. Let's get on to the episode.
Dude, speaking of the gym, what's an exercise or movement that you are like, that's either my favorite or it's one to build muscle and put on muscle fast, or you're like, I know if I want to build this one area in my body, if I do this exercise, if I do this movement, like I'm sure you have some go-tos. I do as well, but I'm just curious to hear, like, what are some of your favorites? What are some of your go-to exercises?
Oh, dude, yeah. I'll say, like, I'm going to talk about three, and I'm going to talk about one first that's one of my go-to leg exercises that I love doing and I've loved doing for a long period of time. And it's probably one of my strongest exercises in the gym. And
Let me guess.
yeah,
guess.
Okay,
I think, I'm thinking, and I think it's going to be some sort of, if I were to guess, some sort of lunge variation, or like a Bulgarian split squat, or like a split stance, some sort of lunge, maybe barbell version. Am I close?
Well, you're close on my probably strongest ever exercise, which is and I was going to say this is one of my exercises. I haven't been in the gym. I got rid of my gym membership and I kind of like vamped up my home gym with just dumbbells. So this thing, it's not one that I use as much. I'll do a dumbbell version of it, and it's the alternating backwards lunge.
Nice. Yes.
Yeah. Like that barbell version, I would be like, probably people thought I was a nut job in the gym actually for a long period of time, because it was like my favorite exercise, and I could get up to like 4 plates on the alternating, which is not like, I do not recommend doing that. Like there was some days where I was probably close to like breaking myself trying to do that, because it's just such a balance exercise on top of like, that's a lot of weight to just move in general. And so that one, my favorite that I do every week, honestly, sometimes multiple week though, is RDL, right? And especially now where like I would do the barbell version in the gym. I do a lot of the dumbbell, and then I also love the single leg version of the RDL. I think that's a really, really good one. And you can do that with 2 dumbbells in a hand. You can do it with 1 dumbbell and that opposite leg forward, right, as well. And like, and that one is a great builder of, obviously the hamstrings, but also the glutes, the butt, and the back too, right? That's gonna hit the back, because it is a deadlift variation. So like it does hit a lot of different muscles, and I think it's just a great one that is I'd say probably my favorite right now that I use. But then just regular deadlifts, man, like nothing, I don't think much beats that. Now, mind you got to make sure you have good form with the deadlifts, because you can really mess your back up if you don't. But like once you nail that form down, I think that's like such a fun exercise to get stronger with, because it hits everything. Like it is really like the true full body exercise is the deadlift. And you can do it with dumbbells as well. Actually, I was just thinking about that today. I was doing a workout just before this, and I was like, I should actually start incorporating like dumbbell deadlifts again, because I do have dumbbells that go up to 100 pounds, which is a good, like I can do tons of really anything you need to do in a home gym. You can do if you have dumbbells that go up that high. So that's one I've been thinking about bringing back in, and is the dumbbell deadlift too.
How about you? Yeah, those are all great, man. Like, so when you were talking, and I'm a huge fan of the RDLs too. Like in any lunge variation, they suck, but they're so beneficial, man. Like if you like, I'm thinking of the ladies listening to you talk right now. Ladies are always like, oh, I want to grow my glutes, I want to have a big butt, and it's like they're always so focused like on the hip thrusts, and hip thrusts are great, but like if you're skipping out on your RDLs, like you're missing it. You're skipping out on a reverse lunge, you're missing the boat. Like
that is you want to build your fucking ass.
Yeah. Dude, I'm telling you.
You should just do that every
do
day.
That.
You will
the best reverse lunge, even if you like it, and if you're more advanced too, like even or you need something to change it up, do a front foot elevated reverse lunge. So like put your front foot on like a plate or stack 2 plates, and then do it. You can go a little bit deeper, and I promise you'll feel them. Like you will feel those and box step ups, like a weighted box step up. Same thing. Like those will light your glutes on fire, right? Glutes and hammies. So yeah,
obviously will get you
Yeah.
really good. But that same thing, any split stance type
Yep.
variations, you get it. But there's just something about that movement of like stepping back
Yeah.
that just lights it up, right?
Yep.
I think
Yep.
that's what, for anybody listening that wants to build their butt, that RDLs are great, but there's nothing better than those exercises you just said: reverse
Yeah.
lunge, step ups, elevate, foot elevated. Excuse
Yeah,
me.
you mentioned deadlifts and that's more of like yes, those are isolated muscle groups too, but that's obviously that's one of the big compound movements, right? And so my favorite compound movement is a back squat. I love back squat. I think I'm naturally pretty efficient at them. I feel like I'm decently strong at them, so therefore I'd love to just do them, right? And they're extremely beneficial. A lot of people forget that yes, it's a lower body movement, but indirectly, all the things that you're working, just performing a back squat, you have to have an extremely strong, durable core. You got to be resilient from inward as deep as you possibly can think, then to your outer extremities. And a back squat's going to force you to do that. All squat variations, even front squats too. But I just love, I'm a fan of the squat. And when performed correctly and efficiently, man, the benefits that you can get from it are crazy. Like if you're somebody who's trying to build strength and size in your lower half, and like, dude, if you're not squatting and you're not squatting often and with enough frequency and volume, like that's something where your legs can blow up really quick. And you can get super, super strong really quick too. So that's one of my favorites. As of recent, like I really like a close grip. You mentioned a dumbbell movement. I really like a close grip dumbbell bench or dumbbell press where you're literally taking the dumbbells, holding them together, super narrow grip, elbows are in right next to the rib cage. You're at your chest and you're pressing and you're locking out. Talk about front delt, right? Anterior delt, chest, tricep pump, like crazy, man. Like I'm doing those right now in my current workout cycle, and I always get a crazy pump from them. And like my shoulders are always in a good safe position. I know a lot of people their shoulders bug them with the traditional like barbell bench press, which you have to make sure your form's dialed in there and your positioning's good. But if you're somebody who wants to try a different variation, that dumbbell close grip bench, man, is like it's killer. It's killer. One-way trip to Titty City, I'll tell you that. Right. So it's great, man. Gives you great pump. Chest, triceps, shoulders, all of it. And it's one of my favorites right now. I have a lot. It just kind of depends. It's almost easier to pick like muscle groups or movement patterns or things like that, and then pick your favorite exercise. But just right now, like if you were to ask me, those are my top right there.
Well, I mean, that's actually a good reminder for me. I haven't done that in a while. I forgot about that exercise, and that's a great one. I used to do that all the time, but it's just kind
Yeah.
of funny how sometimes it just you get locked into certain things and you forget about certain exercises that are really, really good. So I'm going to
Yep.
start using that for sure. And
Yeah.
on the back squat, right? So the back squat,
Yep.
I literally for the longest for years, probably like 5, 6 years, I didn't do back squat, like barbell
Mm.
back squat because of like my low back, right? I messed
Mm.
my low back up in college freshman year doing, or actually might have been I think it was sophomore year. I messed up my low back doing barbell back squats in the gym. And then I was like, oh, I can't do them anymore. And so I would always do like exercises that were below my waist. I would do leg press. I would do dumbbell version of squats, stuff like that. And I got to this point where I was like, you know what? I'm going to try the back squat, the barbell back squat, and it actually helped get rid of the low back
Nice.
that I had. And that's something I'm not. We're not a medical podcast, like we're not
Yeah.
advice, but I know like a lot of guys do struggle with like low back issues, right? And
Yep.
there's certain things like you go talk with your doctor or physiotherapist, something like that. But as far as like things that worked for me, mobility, but also like doing those back squats and being forced to like keep my core tight
Right.
actually like got my low back helped with low back issues getting removed. Now I think mobility was a huge part of that too, but it like I thought I was never going to be able to back squat again, but then I ended up like falling in love with it again. It became like one of my favorite things that I was doing just about every day in the gym. Now I do the dumbbell version because I don't have an actual barbell at my house, but um, that's good. And those are all the good exercises there. What would you say? So we kind of hit like on leg exercises. You got squats. I talked about lunge, like back lunge, RDL. deadlift. You talked about chest. What would you say on like bicep
Mm,
exercises? Let's say, like, I
mm.
know everybody wants to build those biceps. What's your favorite exercise?
Yeah, I two that stand out to me right away that are my favorite that I'm really just kind of been doubling down on right now are spider curl. So laying incline face down on a bench, right? Letting gravity naturally just hold the weights down toward the floor, and then you're curling up toward your shoulder. That angle, for whatever reason, that angle just really isolates and taxes the biceps. And so where I see people mess that movement up is two things. They are laying down on the bench, let's say like 35, 40-degree angle, face down, and you're curling up towards yourself. Where I see people miss the boat on that one, and it's very easy, is they move think about your shoulder and your elbow and those staying nice and vertical, almost like a platform behind your tricep, and your arm can't break past that wall, right? So imagine your triceps against a wall, and then use your wrist to curl straight up toward your shoulder. That's a great way to isolate the bicep. What I see a lot of people do is they'll drift their elbow past that imaginary wall, right? And so now they're shortening the distance, they're bringing their shoulder into it. Very likewise, they'll go the opposite way too. So they'll go super far forward, like bring their fist way out in front of them. Their elbow starts to drift out in front of that imaginary line, like we were talking about. And now you start to bring the front or anterior delt into it. So if you can remain that shoulder straight down, stacked on top of the elbow, and you're just hinging at the elbow, it's an awesome movement, man. Like, it's great, that one. And I'm drawing a blank. Oh, like a cable curl where your arms are naturally behind your body. And so same thing, like that angle for whatever reason really stretches out the bicep. Curling, again, the cables are behind you, you're standing out in front of the machine and curling them up. I use bands with that one too. So like I just have a single band attachment. You can use those with bands, but man, those are my two like go-tos right now. There's so many, but right now I think my two favorite at this moment in time are those. What about you, man? You got any bicep or tricep exercises that you're a fan of?
Yeah, I got two. So my and on the spider curl, so that's a good one. Where that's one where you definitely got to check your ego at the door.
Yeah.
I
Oh
mean,
yeah.
you could do like 10 pound, or you know what I like to do with that is like the easy bar. And
Easy
that's
bar is great.
a great way to do it, where it's a little bit easier because with the dumbbells, sometimes it can be difficult
Yep.
to feel it as much
Yep.
for some folks. And so I found like the easy bar, or just like a bar in general, can be a good way to help you with that. But you're gonna have to go a lot lower on weight.
Yeah.
My favorite like all time bicep exercise is the alternating dumbbell with a hold at the
Oh, hell
top.
yeah.
You hold the dumbbells at the top. Make sure you're not holding them too far up to where there's no tension. You
Yeah.
want them to be like at a maybe like a 45-degree angle is kind of like, or maybe like a 90-degree angle would be a better yeah, probably is more
Yeah.
like it's a large angle, wherever you should feel a lot of tension on it, and then you
Yep.
alternate bringing the dumbbell down and bringing it up, and that's one of my favorites. You don't have to do too much weight with it, and it's that burns, right? That's a
Yeah.
good one. That can be also a really good finisher right
Yep.
after like a bicep tricep exercise, a workout, or like a pull day. Like a good finisher of your pull day can be one of those where that's going to be a great burner.
Yeah.
As far as triceps go, I've always liked this one. Mike O'Hearn,
Yeah.
honestly. Yeah, I for a long time I followed a lot of the stuff. He's obviously well known for like saying he doesn't take steroids, but clearly is like the biggest guy ever.
Right.
Like
Yeah.
just like,
Yeah. Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
But he throws around weight like no other.
Yeah.
In slowly, like with slow reps. Like I've never seen
Mhm.
somebody do so much weight with like hard exercises with like perfect form.
Right.
He has this exercise. I've always just called it like the Mike O'Hearn press, where you lay on an incline bench, like you're going to incline bench press with dumbbells. And this is not one that you probably should go watch him do it, because it is like it puts you in a vulnerable position for sure with your elbow. But you want to go very light on the dumbbells, and you almost like you're like laying down and you drop the dumbbells
Oh,
towards your
that's
chest, and then you press them up like that. And it's like you do them both at the same time. Definitely go look it up. You'll see if he does like dumbbell, like if he does like tricep or like push days and stuff like that. I'm sure there's tons and tons of exercise. Let me show, like, for the people who are watching, this might not be good, for the people that are listening, but this is what it would look like for the folks. Like if you're like inclined here, you'll have the dumbbells up and you want to bring it down to your chest and then press up, and you should feel it like really heavily on your tricep. It's good. Now you really got to start with lightweight because it does put your elbow in a compromised position. He always talked about how like it actually does make your bench press go up a lot too, because it's like just working some of those maybe small muscles that you don't necessarily work, but it's not for everybody for sure. But I
Yeah.
love it. Like I found like my triceps got so much bigger through doing that. And you started really small on the weight, and then I would get up to where I could do like really actually pretty heavy dumbbells on that. And it just, you want to make sure you're really focusing on the form, and go watch his videos first before you do it, because he has a really, really good form with it, and he'll talk through different stuff.
Yeah, for sure. Because it's putting your shoulder at like a kind of an internally rotated position. So,
Yeah.
like Alex said, just starting out lightweight, you got to check your ego on those and just build them up. And then eventually you could get to moving some good weight on those. I want to say it's like SOTS press or something. It's called something like that. But yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. I forget, I'm drawing a blank on the name. But yeah, those are great. I forgot about those. I used to do those like in a combo of those, then dumbbell tricep extensions, and then close grip, and then just burn those out, like cycle through those as many times as you can. Yeah, those are great. One of my favorite for triceps, I like weighted dips, like weighted bar dips, weighted ring dips. If you're a little bit more, think about the further you lean forward in a dip position, the more chest you're going to engage. So if you get more of like a vertical position, you're going to really tax those triceps. If you can do your body weight and then progress to some weighted variations, like those are some of the best ones that you can do, man. I think just a dip in general is great. You think about it, it's like a life skill, right? So if somebody can't do a dip, or even like a pull up, right? A pull up or a chin up, those are like life skills to be able to have. Like if you're in, who knows, some crazy scenario where you got to pull somebody up, or you got to pull yourself up, or you got to push something off you, like who knows? But those are life survival skills, and some great to practice just from that standpoint. But man, some weighted dips, even adding a band. One of my favorite ones is like accommodating resistance. So adding a band on your dip bar and having it kind of draped across your traps or shoulders. And so as you are pressing and extending, the lockout's the hardest part, right? So it's making the lockout even harder. So those are really good to add a band. And I mentioned the close grip earlier. The close grip bench press is a great one. I just love your traditional cable tricep extensions with a rope, right? Like just the rope allows a little bit more range of motion, a different, instead of being in a fixed plane, like you can actually turn your wrist out at the bottom, squeeze, control it. That's a really great one. I love that one as well. Skull crushers are great. I feel like you got to warm the elbows up, at least for me, for a little bit. I got to warm the elbows up before I get into those. But the one thing on the skull crusher that helps too is that I've noticed is people will so imagine laying on your back. If you're not sure what the skull crusher is, you're laying on your back, arms are extended, and you're hinging at the elbow, and you can use an easy bar, you can use a barbell, you can use dumbbells, whatever you want. One thing to keep and maintain the tension on the tricep is, instead of having your elbow directly over your shoulder, move your shoulder so that your arm is now further back, a little bit further back. So instead of extending like straight up towards the sky, think about extending towards the wall behind you when you're laying down. And that little shift, that little change is like crazy in terms of like keeping tension on. I'm sure you've experienced that too. It's like, dude, it's so different than when you just do a traditional skull crusher. You extend, finish straight over your shoulder. Yeah, you're in a lockout position, but you almost notice like you can rest in that position. Like the tension kind of comes off the triceps a little bit, versus if you just shift from, let me see, like from this position straight and then just go back there and make that your finish position. It's a game changer, man. Like you'll blow your triceps up. You'll feel a huge difference. So those are some of my favorites for triceps.
I love it, dude. And how about, I think the last one we got is shoulders.
Shoulders. Yeah.
Yeah, just about everything muscle group wise. Maybe shoulders and back, because I did talk about deadlifts, but I don't think we like fully talked about back exercises. And my thing, I would say like back, deadlift, definitely my favorite back exercise. But I've always loved the single arm dumbbell rows.
That's my favorite. Yeah, single arm row, chainsaw row. Yeah,
exactly. It's just like, it's one you can go a lot heavier on, But, I'd always challenge. I've seen so many people do it in the gym where they have like such a short range of motion. I'm such a
Oh
huge
yeah.
fan of like letting my arm like go out in front of me and like pulling, like just getting that full range of
Yep.
motion. Right. And even if I got to go a little bit lighter on the weight to do it, I've always been a huge fan of that because I've just seen so many people in the gym with like this smallest range of motion trying to like throw a bunch of weight around when that's not really getting you a ton of benefit from it. So I would
Right.
challenge people on that. Another one is as far as like shoulders go, if I were to pick my shoulder, it's just your classic. I always loved the standing shoulder press with the barbell, but my favorite is definitely the seated dumbbell shoulder
Yep.
press. I just a great one. You can throw around a good amount of weight, which is probably part of the reason why it's you're gonna be able to push a lot more weight seated than you are with like the standing shoulder press. Obviously, I think as far as benefits go, the standing barbell is going to be like your best and just the most beneficial for most folks in really any sort of setting. But the seated one's a great one too, where you can do a lot of different versions too, which I like, where like sometimes I'll like keep I'm going to put this down for a second. Sometimes you can keep like the dumbbells like down here, and you can like focus
Alternate.
you kind of keep the pressure on. You can you can do pauses. Like that's what I always love doing, that stuff, especially for people who maybe you don't have as many dumbbells or you're doing stuff at home. You can always add those into those shoulder exercises. You can add those into like a bench press where you keep them, you keep them like tension on the bottom and you're doing that, or, you pause at the bottom, you're alternating. Like there's so many different ways to go about it that'll allow you to mix up what you're doing, to allow some of the weight that you're using to feel like more weight, to feel like you're pushing more weight, and to be able to continue to have like more time on retention. But
yeah, it's an ego check too, man. It's for sure. And I got those in my workout cycle right now, literally the seated overhead press alternating. And so the cool thing about those is you can use a little bit lighter weight. Your set, the duration of your set is going to be a little bit longer. So you're going to be more fatigued with lighter weight because it's going to take longer to perform the set. And doing the alternating. So there's two different variations. The one that I'm doing right now is both arms start locked out, and then you move one at a time. So one arm is basically stabilizing in the lockout position while the other one is moving, and you don't move your opposite arm until the other one returns to the start position. So they both start locked out overhead. And that's a great one, man. It's a good change up. I'm literally doing that one in my cycle right now, my workout cycle. Yeah. And then for back, we talked about the chainsaw row. And then my other favorite one is wide and close grip lat pull downs. I love those. I'm a huge fan of those. So you could even throw pull-ups and weighted pull-ups in there as well. I think those are some of the biggest ones for.
That's probably the best. Like overall.
Yeah, getting the most out of what you're doing. If your ability is not there yet, then doing things like eccentrics, like starting with a bench or a box and starting with your chin over the bar, and just suspending yourself, walking off the box, and then slowly lowering yourself down is a great way to build that eccentric strength till eventually you can get to some pull-ups. But
in banded,
yeah, man.
Well, you could wrap
banded,
onto the pull-up bar, and then put your foot in there, put your knee in there, like whatever you want to do, and pull up. I know that's whenever I started doing pull-ups and I couldn't do any or many just regular pull-ups, I used the band, and then I got strong enough where I could do full pull-ups, and then you start to add weight in, and you can kind of progress that way. But that's definitely a good one to always include. But yeah, man. Anything else to add on this?
No, man, I think we covered our favorites. There's so many different movements that we could go into, but I think we just covered the ones that we enjoy the most and the ones that we feel like are really beneficial for you. If you're going to go in there and you have limited time and you want to focus on just one thing that you're going to get the most out of, we encourage you to do some of those movements we talked about.
I love it, dude. Well, thanks everybody for taking the time out of your day to watch or listen to this podcast. Hopefully this is helpful. Hopefully you can implement these into your plan. Maybe we gave you a few new ones that you can try out. I know it's easy to get kind of stuck in that same routine and to not introduce new ones, but we just challenged you today. Just add a few of these new exercises we talked about into your plan, or maybe this is a good reminder to mix up your plan. right? I know it's easy to do the same thing for months on end, but really the stuff that you're not doing is where you're going to get the most benefit. So hopefully this helped. All we ask is you share it with somebody who could benefit, and we hope you have a good week. We'll talk to you soon.